The last application is going to be the town of Dyer ditch with Hart ditch stream bank stabilization. Thomas, are you going to be doing that, or is someone from the town of Dyer? Oh, there I see Brian.
Brian's here. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that one. If I can share again. 1 second. This project deals with Hart ditch and Dyer ditch.
I'm sorry, can you help me with my Robert's Rules of Order in identifying yourself, please, under this new agenda item?
Absolutely. Thomas Burke with Christopher Burke Engineering, representing the town of Dyer Stormwater Management Board. Also here is Brian Lane with the town of Dyer Stormwater Administrator.
Thank you.
Certainly. So this has to do with Hart ditch and Dyer ditch doing some stream bank stabilization. The location of the projects is under and around 4 bridges, just highlighted where Briar Ridge is in relationship to surrounding communities. And this is a map of the 4 locations inside Briar Ridge. So on the south side of the map is 213th Street. On the west side is Calumet Avenue. There are 2 locations on Killarney, one on Royal Dublin and one on Shannon. The one on Shannon is on Hart ditch / Plum Creek, and the other 3 are on Dyer ditch. Just to show you what it looks like, this is one of them where one of the bridges underneath it where the ditch has come up and started to undermine the structural portion of it. There's also, this used to be full of riprap. I believe some of the riprap that was originally placed there is washed away and it might have been too small. So we're trying to come in here and restabilize the banks as well as some of the adjacent areas. Here's another one where we have nearly vertical banks underneath the bridge, but this isn't uncommon for lots of areas along Hart ditch, as you're well aware. Here's just another view of it, of the very steep eroded banks, the sandy soils that we're encountering. It's jumping on me, sorry. So, and just another one. So when we are doing this project, we're looking not just underneath the bridge, but tying in the Hart ditch upstream and downstream to where we have some stabilized banks. So the project benefit is the stabilization that's being done, as well as the reduction in downstream erosion. We know that Hart ditch is carrying a lot of sediment downstream to Little Cal. The more we can stop that sediment, the better off we're going to be, which will also improve water quality. Shannon Bridge is probably one of the worst case ones where instead of just placing riprap, larger riprap to protect it, we're going to actually use this thing called scour lock, which should be a more green way of addressing some of the erosion that's going on there. It allows it where we can have a 1-to-1 slope, and also can help deal with high energy flows, which we're encountering in this location. Just to give you an idea, they come out here, they fill it either with stone or dirt, and they're basically, they set these up on site. They're relatively easy to install. They tie back into the bank, which isn't shown here, but they're tied back into it. Eventually, you can have vegetation grow through there, and this will be what it'll look like at Shannon, where there's going to be 2 sets of these scour lock installed. The request is for $81,000, which is about 1/3 of the total cost. The estimated cost of the project is $245,000, which includes a 15% contingency. The request is for 1/3, as I mentioned. Briar Ridge Property Owners Association will be paying 1/3, and the Lake County Drainage Board, because it's a regulated drain, has agreed to pay 1/3 of the cost, as well as do the bidding for the project and oversee the contractor. The long-term maintenance needs will be the responsibility of the surveyor's office, since they're both regulated drains. Just an idea of what the costs, most of them are going with riprap, so there's quite a bit of riprap. There's the scour lock that's being used, maintenance of traffic over the bridges, clearing grubbing, etc. So, any questions?
All right, back to the board of questions, gentlemen.
Yes, this is Tom Gazdecki. If you received funding, how soon would they start?
It's gonna be, we haven't gone out for bid, so we'd have to go out for bid, which would take probably a month of advertisement, another month to award it, so probably a couple months out. We'd also submit to DNR what the project is, and I don't know that they're gonna issue a project permit within a couple months, so probably it's this summer.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question on the Scholar Lock. You mentioned that vegetation comes through that, and a lot of locations that we're doing maintenance on, we're afraid of vegetation coming through the system. It's something that you're wanting.
I'm wondering from a water quality standpoint that if you had some vegetation, it certainly has more benefit than just having some of the riprap that it flushes against.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, vegetation is great, but sometimes it's Phragmites, and that's not a good thing. So I'm just trying to get an understanding if you're going to try to grow things there, or are you doing that for aesthetics?
Well, I'm not suggesting we're intentionally growing anything there. I'm just saying that you could have grasses growing out of it. That's not the intention here. The intention is the structural stability of the bank, holding the bank back and underneath the bridge and adjacent to the bridges.
Oh, I understand that it's holding back the bank, but I'm also understanding too that where we live, people look at stuff. So is that the look that they would see when the finished product?
If they looked underneath the bridge, they would. But this is, again, you'd have to walk down around the bridge to see it, because most of the traffic, I'm not aware of any pedestrian path across Shannon other than over the bridge itself.
I mean, it might be 10, 15 yards. I don't know. It could be 200 yards. I don't know.
Is there a location where they've installed this, or if this has been installed locally?
Have you guys put this system somewhere else in the area?
Not in the immediate area, no.
So this is new.
Yes, it would be new for us using it here. We've used it in the Chicagoland area, but not here.
And this particular location or this particular project was chosen because of that it's just under a bridge, you don't see it?
No, it was chosen because it gives us, it does not, we have nearly vertical slopes here. And if we're going to go with riprap, we don't want to go anything greater than 1.5, preferably 2 to 1. And so what we can accomplish with this is get our structural integrity without having to go far out in the channel or cut back the bridge more. So we're locked where the bridge has been placed, and we have to make sure we have the conveyance of the ditch itself, which has been eroding around some of the riprap that's there. So we want to get the structural integrity while not losing the conveyance of the channel itself.
I understand. Thank you. I mean, is it with the amount of erosion loss, is there any repair to the erosion as a part of this, or are we just going to reestablish the location as it is?
We're trying to, our goal to meet DNR requirements is to reestablish the way it was as best as possible. I mean, we know that when we put, so the other project we did similar to this was at Hart Street, also in Hart Ditch. And when we use those gabions baskets, which would accomplish the same thing as this, we were told by DNR that had we not already constructed the project, they would have made us, they wanted to make us tear them out and use something else. So this is kind of trying to say, here's another structural component that we can use.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
This is Ron Ware. So to follow up on that question, the commission partnered with the county and the town of Munster with the gabion wall, vertical construction like you're doing here, just north of 45th recently. If that, I mean, and that was a recent project that was vetted and approved. It seems like there's two different messages here. What you just said, DNR was talking to you about against the gabion construction, and that as opposed to what you're proposing here. And then my other question was, do you have the confirmation for the funding both from the POA and from the county already in place?
Let me start with the funding. Yes, the confirmation from the Surveyor's office / drainage board has committed to the 1/3, 81,000, and the POA has committed to funding it as well. Regarding the 45th Street project, we designed that working with Little Cal and the surveyor's office. And those are very extensive Gabion baskets that work very well, given the limited area that we had to work in. I'm telling you what the latest correspondence from DNR was, which was this Hart Street Bridge, or they work on Hart Street just west of Hart Street. And their comment that they actually put in writing saying that had it not already been constructed, we would never have allowed this, and we would prefer you to tear it out. They have changed the way what they approve and over the years, and this is the latest. I'm telling you what they're saying last year.
Is there a cost difference between the two? If so, how much as an estimate?
I would say the Gabions are actually more expensive because of they're more time consuming to get the wires and the baskets tied together than these are. So if you're using Gabions inside both of them, it would be close, but they would be more time consuming, more labor intensive with the baskets than these are.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question or a couple.
Yes, sir. Mr. Broadnex.
Thank you. You talked about 1-to-1 slope, but this looks more like a vertical slope. Is this okay to do like you're showing, like this picture is showing?
Yes, and that's why this is part of their specs, is that you can put it in. So this is, you can see we're still going with some Gabion up on top, but it's on the bottom right over here is where there's gonna be 2 levels
Okay.
of this, where we can nearly go nearly vertical. I mean, I think the picture I showed previously
Got it.
is what we're facing right now.
Right.
And so
Okay. And then
I
and
don't want to.
basically it's kind of like a sort of a, you said it's sort of a more greenway, so it's sort of a, I wouldn't say biodegradable, but a greenish basket that you're filling with dirt or rocks or something.
Correct.
So structurally, I would think, I don't know, is it topped with some sort of like light concrete or cementitious material, or it seems like the structural integrity is all tied into the tie back. So I wanted to see how it tied back into the, or
You're correct. There's two things with it. It's tied back here, as well as the foundation for, if you want to call it that, same thing we use for the Gabions baskets. We still put a stone base to it so that this will stop the overturning, but we've also seen it or just pushed out. So there's 2 components to that we've looked at for to make sure it's not going to move.
so what is that, just like a T-bar or something like that? And how does it grab onto that mesh basket?
So on the mesh basket,
Yeah, that piece right there.
right? It's much wider than any of the openings that you can see. I'm just going to go back to the picture of it. Sorry. Much wider than any of the openings that you can see here. So it
Right.
hold on to I don't know if it's foot around, 2 foot around, but then it's going back, it has to be anchored into solid ground behind it. So
And I'm sure there's a specification for how far it has to be tied
Absolutely.
back in, like it's like 4 or 5 feet long or something.
correct, it's longer than that, but yes, correct.
Okay. And what is it made of? Is it metal or?
No, it's steel with a clamp on the back of it so that you push it into the point specified by the specifications, and then as
Okay,
you
by
turn
the
it back,
gotcha.
it opens up and grabs it.
Oh, just like a wall anchor.
Correct.
All right. One other last question. You mentioned something about it improves water quality too. Do we have an issue with water quality here, or is that just an added benefit?
Added benefit,
Thank you.
certainly.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You. Any other questions? Mr. Wislinski, you good?
Yeah, I got one.
All right.
What's the reasoning behind this rather than like a poured concrete apron under the bridges?
Trying to anticipate and satisfy DNR requirements.
Would they have an issue with a poured concrete apron versus what you're trying to do here?
They have an issue with the hard armoring that we know works well and has stood up in time. They've certainly come out clear that they have an issue with the way that they would like to see something softer, greener than what we've been using.
Are they familiar with this tributary and the amount of volume that comes through here?
They are. They should be well aware of it after all the work that's been done and continues. It has to be done. I don't know that. Unfortunately, I don't
And
think
this-
that's their concern.
The silt that's
But we'll
traveling
take it
through
offline. I'm
here,
just knowing that this
that's-
is a different perspective. It's definitely a pivot point because, you know, I mean, we have to go through the rest of this system and that we have an ongoing project for hard ditch the entire way. And this is just one step in that whole big picture project. And now I'm starting to get the vibe that we're changing up some of the things. And I just want to make sure we have some understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. Because as we go further north, we're going to have bigger and bigger issues as it relates to volume and severity of the slope.
Completely agree. And there are some places where, especially as you get by Ridge Road on the east side there, you're going to have to do something structural that just, I don't even believe something like this would work. So
Yeah,
I completely-
absolutely. I mean, if they're in, you know, please keep Dan Repay involved as far as what kind of, you know, feedback you're getting, because between the county and municipalities that are along Hart Ditch, we need to be able to have a unified effort to make sure we're getting some consistent feedback as we try to do a multi-year project here.
understood. Will do.
plus all the silt that travels all the way north, Bill, that keeps making that island that they won't let us remove.
It's all coming from here, Wishlinski.
Some of it is.
All right, any other questions, gentlemen?
Yes.
Mr. Gazeki?
What's the maximum height of this scour lock system? Can you stack it?
Yes, you stack it. And I don't know if they've done 5 high. I've seen 3 high, but they have the specifications, which I can pull up if you want, have different requirements as the higher you go. Just like when we, like when we do the gabion baskets and depending on how high we go, the 45th was a really good example of one that's at least 5 high in some places along that. So
And then the
no, we're
second-
talking about 2 here.
We're good as long as it's stackable. And then the second question I have is, can you change the composition of the fill material to make it less, to make it still a hardscape and less permeable, less vegetative?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for your help, gentlemen. Outstanding.